Hi, I'm MJ from Linus Publications, and I've been meaning to do a chart on the parties, both the Democratic and Republican. I always follow them, and they add a little bit more flavor. They become one of the pieces of the puzzle. So I wanted to bring that out. Now I haven't done all the charts, so we'll just start off with the transit, and maybe some later day in the future I'll do the progressions in the solar arc. So let's look at the Democratic Party. And what I have for the date of birth is November 1st, 1828. Now, there is no time of birth that's available. Now, people have estimated time of births, but in most cases, what I do is I always put it with the United States chart. So I build on that in the chart itself on the United States. At some point, I might decide to try and rectify the chart to determine the date of birth, time of birth. Rectification is a method you use to go back and look at things that happen and try to rectify the time so you're coming in sort of where the time of birth might be. But that's beside the point. Let's talk about the Democratic Party. They lost the election, and they lost the election because they put up a candidate that was probably not the candidate that could win. Granted, Biden was a wonderful president. He did have some issues. He did make some decisions that maybe were not the best. But overall, he, I think, will be remembered well. What will not be remembered well is that he went at his age and decided to run for another term. When he was running the first term, he said he would only be a one-term president. He wasn't going to run again. He should have stuck to that. That was catastrophic for the Democratic Party. People wanted to support him. They loved him. But we should have had someone else. That someone else should have started off and run not just 3 or 4 weeks. They should have had a year and a half to be able to run. That's my opinion. But some of that is going to play in here. So let's take a look first at something that already happened, and that was back in 610. We had Uranus actually trying Uranus. Trying, that's good. What's some of this have to do with probably? Probably with the party coming to grips that Biden was not the good candidate. So they were embracing the change. They looked at what happened and they know they need to change. That's what this Uranus trine Uranus is. That already happened. And they're moving in that direction. We have a younger generation that's coming up, and they're making their way through the ranks in both the Democratic and Republican Party. They are going to make changes. Now, one thing we have happening here, and it's sort of moving away at this time, but we have Pluto in opposition to Saturn. It's a big deal. In this case, Pluto is what? It's destruction. And it's a conflict type of destruction. So meaning you have many different voices on what needs to be done, what needs to be destroyed. What is it destroying? Structure. So literally the structure of the Democratic Party. That's going to be pretty much destroyed. But when it's destroyed, it means it's going to be built back up. That's a positive. So Pluto's going to be coming around and taking down the structure, not the foundation. So a lot of the basic principles of the Democratic Party are going to survive. What's not going to survive? Some of the things that are sort of outside of where they should be focusing on. What was that in the last piece, in the last term? Oh, maybe probably things like, canceling student loans. When you do that, you have everyone ending up having to pay for student loans for people. And you have people in the middle of the country that didn't go to school because they couldn't afford it. And they're paying for loans for other people to make better money. It's not fair. Democrats need to get back to being fair. And by the way, Saturn is in Leo here for the Democrats. So if you ever wonder whether Democratic Party is a party of fun, it's not. Saturn is very restrictive here, saying fun has got to be something. There's got to be a focus to that fun. But they are, just as a note, the sun is in the 11th house. Their focus is on community, on your neighborhoods. Okay, it's on the things you belong to. Okay, what do they do well? Well, Jupiter's in the 12th house in the United States chart. What's that? Hospitals, medical care. All the things that, are sort of hidden, but things that people need. So these are things that are important. Where's Mars in the Democratic chart? Well, it's in the 2nd house of money. What is this? They want to have it it's an Aquarius. They want it equitable. So in this case, they want to make sure that, people have enough to survive. So I went off on a little tangent there. So let's look at what else is hitting this Saturn. And this is really nice. Well, you can decide. Saturn and Neptune are going to be making a trine to Saturn here. That's good news. Pluto has come around and it's going to be destroying Saturn, but we're going to have Saturn and Neptune building it back up. Saturn is going to be giving structure. Okay, so what Pluto was just destroying here, stuff that wasn't needed, Saturn is coming back and saying, yeah, but now we're going to focus. We're going to make our party what should have been the last 10 or 15 years. Neptune coming in, idealism, going back to the vision of what the Democratic Party should be. That's good news. What else is going on? Well, we have Uranus that is going to be opposing Mercury. That's not so good. So we have conflict here. We're going to have conflict within that Democratic Party about what voices should be heard. What are the voices they want out there? So we still have to get past this little piece, but that's actually a good thing in a way. That's saying, okay, we need to bring out these conflicts to have voice to them. And that's Uranus is freeing this stuff. So in this case, it's freeing these voices, but it's in a conflict way. So this is actually not bad. Jupiter is going through Cancer. So that means it's going to be trining the Democratic Sun, which is in Scorpio. Yeah, Democrats have a sun in Scorpio. They can be pretty intense. But it's also going to come around and it's going to be trining Jupiter. So opportunities. It's also going to come to a point within next year of trining Mercury. So that means we'll come past that point of trying to resolve the voices that are being heard. So in all told, coming up in a while here, we're going to have one negative angle, and that's this Pluto coming across here. We're going to have, and the Uranus opposing Mercury. But we're also going to have the Saturn and Neptune trining Saturn. So we're building up. Really good. We're going to have Jupiter coming in, hitting the sun with the trine, hitting Jupiter with the trine, hitting Mercury with the trine. Now, these are not all the angles, but I just want to show you that this is how paths progress. Astrology shows us something that's being destroyed or in conflict, so it needs to be fixed. And then other planets come around and fix it. They build. So you need the oppositions for the conflict to get things out. You need the squares so we don't just get sort of, sedentary and not do anything. You need the trines to let us make the work go easily so we get things accomplished. And you have the conjunctions to sort of wake us up and get us moving. There's a reason for all that. So, yes. Now, is all this going to be in place for the 2026 election? Well, it's still a ways away. We'll have to see. Or for the 2028. But, it looks like the Democrats are sort of moving along. They've got some good angles, some tough ones, but they're trying to figure out where they need to be. I hope you enjoyed this and have a great evening. Bye now.